one recurring theme that I see in the work that I do with clients, and indeed in the work that I have to do with myself, is that of repressed anger. And I think from a very early age, we're given very powerful messages about how appropriate it is to express anger. And as a result, we don't always feel safe with the emotion. We don't know how to deal with it healthily. And we tend to go one of two ways. We tend to either be very outwardly aggressive at inappropriate times, or we repress our anger. We push it down so that it festers and it becomes resentment internally. And this is highly toxic and can have detrimental effects for our physical and for our mental health, resulting in issues with blood pressure, heart problems, depression, and anxiety. However, forgiveness isn't something that comes easy to us. I think most of us have a very strong ability to hold a grudge. I know I do, and you don't like to think yourself in those terms. And yet the reality is we all have this level of self-righteousness and ego and this kind of need to be right and need to be correct. And the reality is when we hold on to a need to be right, or when we think that we're protecting ourselves even by holding a grudge, all that we're doing is harming ourselves, because the body doesn't differentiate between stress and anger. They result in the same response, that adrenaline and cortisol rushing through the bloodstream. And when that happens for prolonged periods, it can have really damaging impact on your ability to enjoy life, your cognitive function, and as I said, your mental and your physical health. So if anything, forgiveness is a gift to yourself. It's not about letting the other person off the hook. It's about letting yourself off the hook of all of these negative effects of anger. And I think, forgiveness as well is often about letting go of the hope that the past could have been any different. And we do tend to hold on to that hope. We wish things had been differently. But ultimately, that just keeps us in a state of anxiety and separates us from, the present moment, acceptance, mindfulness, all of these things that, we need to develop in order to be connected to ourselves and connected with other people. And it's worth noting that forgiveness doesn't mean that you first of all have to receive an apology. Oftentimes forgiveness is something that you do just at a very individual level. However, it doesn't imply reconnection. I mean, you don't have to go outwardly being best friends with the person who has hurt you. In fact, you don't have to ever see them again, even if you don't want to, or if they're damaging you in some way, shape or form. However, it's just about, as I said, letting go of that negative feeling, letting go of the pain that you are carrying inside. And it's a very personal journey. It can be very painful, and it can take a lot of inner work, acceptance, reflection, but it is so worthwhile, because as I said, you are absolving yourself of the need to carry this, and that's what it's all about. And indeed, if you practice forgiveness and compassion and empathy with other people, and recognize that ultimately, even though people hurt us, they're hurting as well in their own way, and that can be extremely beneficial when it comes to putting the practice of forgiveness in place, recognizing the common suffering of humankind, and the fact that we all have some issue inside us that is causing us to suffer, and that sometimes causes us to behave in ways in which aren't all that humanitarian or kind. So, being able to forgive other people helps you create the capacity to forgive yourself and find compassion for yourself. And ultimately, that's what it's all about. If you are struggling with your anger, then some ways that it can help you deal with it is, first of all, recognizing the sensations within your body. I mean, a lot of people try to intellectualize their anger, and they never actually get in touch with the very visceral sensations that they need to be aware of in order to process it. So it's about recognizing what it feels like in the body, and then asking yourself, kind of what's going on for you? What has this triggered in you? Because often oftentimes when somebody pisses us off, it's because they've actually touched off some kind of internal pain that we're carrying with us. Because when you think about it, nothing that anybody else does should bother us that much, but often it does because it touches off one of our insecurities. And it's about recognizing that it might be 50% what the other person did, and it could be 50% about your kind of inner wounds or inner pain. And then explore ways of getting through it, expressing it healthily. Can you have a conversation with the person in hand, or do you need to just write upon it? Do you need to meditate about it? Do you need to do something really physical to kind of offload the energy of it? And it's just about coming back to it again and again. And oftentimes, particularly with very strong trauma, or really really big hurts, big trauma, you may have to revisit it again and again. And I mean, that can be so difficult, but it is a practice, it is a discipline, and it is something that you can eventually let go of. And as I said, the person who benefits the most from letting this go is you. If you're struggling with your anger and you're finding difficulties getting through it, or indeed if you'd like to practice a more forgiving, compassionate mindset, get in touch with me on my website. It's fundamentals.ie. You'll also catch me on Facebook and on Instagram, and I do lots of content similar to this on my YouTube channel. It's called Fiona Feely, so go check it out. Hope everyone has an amazing day.